it's Hailey. Happy Bookmas Day 15. Today I'm going to be talking about all of the books that I read this past year and also tier ranking them and kind of going over some stats. Actually do kind of two separate videos. I do one where I tier rank all the books that I read this year, and then I do another one where I go over the stats and just tell you every book that I've read this year. But I decided to combine the two because I felt like it made sense. It might actually admittedly end up being kind of a longer video, but it's fine. Like, I think it's gonna be fun. I mean, essentially when I'm like doing the one where I'm just going over stats and telling you every book that I've read, I'm literally just telling you the titles. So it's not really like all that interesting, right? So today I'll actually be able to kind of talk about the books a little bit more. Before we get into it, don't forget to click that subscribe button and then click the bell icon so you'll be notified whenever I post. I'm going to be putting up a new video every single day for the entire month of December, so you don't want to miss any of those. But without further ado, let's get started looking back on 2022. Before we actually get into the tier ranking, I wanted to take a look at my year in books on Goodreads. I always love kind of looking at this and seeing how the year has gone and like the difference to years past and everything. So this year I read 100 books, which I didn't realize last year I actually only read like around 80, but I had set my reading goal as 100 books and I was struggling to get there because it was such a busy year. But then you guys know, like November, I kind of went wild with reading. I don't even know how many books I ended up reading in November. I think it was like 28 or something wild like that. But I read a ton of books in November, essentially, so I was actually able to reach that 100 book goal, which is super exciting. So with those 100 books, I ended up reading 35,414 pages, which is quite a few. I actually kind of want to look at what last year looked like. So last year I read 83 books and I read 30,000 pages. So 5,000 more pages, which is really exciting. The longest book that I read this year was Daughter of the Moon Goddess by Sue Lynn Tan, which was 512 pages. I really enjoyed that one. And the shortest book that I read was Wrapped in You by Talia Hibbert, which is like a little Christmassy short story, and that one is 127 pages. The average book length in 2022 for the books that I read was 354 pages, which makes sense to me. I think it's always kind of around that 365 last year, but that does make sense to me. And the most popular book that I read last year was Where the Crawdads Sing by Delia Owens. Once again, not surprising because this is a book that, I mean, the movie came out, like everyone has been talking about it. And the least popular book that I read is Alice by Heart by Stephen Sater, which doesn't surprise me once again because this actually has like pretty bad reviews. I liked it though. But the highest rated book I read on Goodreads was I Must Betray You by Ruta Sepetys. I go over actually like all of the highest rated books that I read this year according to Goodreads in a separate Bookmas video. Actually, I think it would be yesterday's Bookmas Day 8. I went over this, so I'll have that link down below. And I also the next day went over the worst ones. But yeah, I think that's kind of all I wanted to go over. I mean, that's my first like actual written review of the year. Unexciting. I'm so behind on writing reviews, to be honest. But now let's get into the tier ranking. So you can see here, I have my little tier ranking chart and everything, and I have divided it into 8 categories, which might seem like a lot, but I wanted to make sure I was able to really break things down. So we have absolute fave, loved it, really liked it, good, forgettable, okay, didn't like it, DNF. So that might seem like some of them are repetitive, but to me it makes sense, okay? I wanted to like have enough division there to feel like things were making sense, because I feel like usually when I do these videos, I end up not having enough categories. So now maybe this is overkill, but we're just going with it. Now we have 100 books to rank. So let's just get to it. I'm gonna try and be as speedy as possible. Guilt and Tarnish by Catherine Longshore, I'm going to put in loved it. These were on my favorites list for the year, but like absolute fave to me is a book that like I'm gonna be screaming about forever, essentially. And And I don't think those are books that I like was totally blown away by, but they definitely are books that I really did enjoy. So I did love them, and they are Tudor era like historical fictions. I talked about them in that video. They were good. Confess by Colleen Hoover, I'm gonna put in didn't like it. I just wasn't a fan of this one. Colleen Hoover is kind of love or hate for me, and that just was one that didn't work for me. I'm just gonna go ahead and actually, It Ends With Us. I would say that this one was a liked it. I didn't love it. I'm torn a little bit between good and liked it for that one, but I would say that I liked it. I think maybe I just feel like it's kind of a controversial read, so I shouldn't put it in liked it, and that's why I'm veering toward good. But also my feelings are personally very conflicted on it, but I would say liked it. Challenger Deep by Neil Shusterman, I DNF'd that one. I just found the story to be kind of triggering for me personally, and it was just one that I couldn't get through, but I can see the merit in it. And The Last Magician by Lisa Maxwell, I don't think I actually ever talked about that one in my worst books of the year video, but that's another one that I ended up DNFing. It's a book that I have tried to read for years now, and I thought that like it was finally happening, I was finally gonna do it, but I just wasn't liking it. I found it very confusing, and I think I was in love with the idea more than the actual execution of it, which was really unfortunate because like I kind of wanted to keep going because I was like, oh, the characters seem cool, the concept seems cool, but then I realized like I was just kind of fantasizing about it. It wasn't actually the story that I was liking. I also DNF'd By a Charm and a Curse by Jamie Questel. I don't know why there's so many DNFs in a row, but this one just didn't work for me. It's one, like once again, one that I had had for quite a while, but I just found that the story was like really strange. I didn't like the characters, how she was totally fine with like what they had done to her very quickly, and it's something that I felt like shouldn't have been okay. I don't know. It wasn't for me. Then Orphan Monster Spy by Matt Colleen. This one I would say either liked it or really liked it. I think I'm running into this problem again because this is always the issue. Like, I don't think that my enjoyment for this one was the same as It Ends With Us, which is where I struggle. So I'm going to go ahead and put Orphan Monster Spy and liked it and move It Ends With Us down to good. So that doesn't mean, obviously like good doesn't mean that it was a bad story, but I think that is like kind of a better way to describe my enjoyment of it. Orphan Monster Spy, I did really like. I thought it was a solid story and definitely like a really high stakes, interesting situation. And actually alongside that one, I'm going to put What the Night Sings by Vesper Stamper. I really enjoyed this one. It's like a World War II historical fiction, but it's set kind of after the war. So you're following a character who didn't even know she was Jewish. She knows nothing about her heritage, but she found out obviously during the war, and she has spent years in concentration camps and like lost everyone she knows and loves and is trying to rebuild her life. It was a really like hard read. The Shadows Between Us by Trisha Levenseller, I'm gonna go ahead and put in really liked it. I just quite enjoyed that book. I am like a big fan of Trisha Levenseller, and this book was like steamy and fun, and it was just a really good read. Where the Crawdads Sing by Delia Owens. I have really mixed feelings on this one, to be honest, so I think that kind of the good level is where I have mixed feelings. I'm gonna go ahead and put it there. I didn't dislike it, but I think that the hype was a little bit much for me. Like, I was just expecting to be blown away and fall in love with the story, and that wasn't really like quite what happened in my personal experience. I feel like I actually read quite a bit of historical fiction this year. So next is The War Outside by Monica Hesse. She's another historical fiction author that I really enjoy, and I did really like The War Outside. I think I'm gonna go ahead and put this one in really liked it. This one is set in internment camps, and you're following a Japanese prisoner and a German prisoner, and it's like such a hard read, but really good. The Gilded Ones by Namina Forna. I think I kind of had, like, once again, higher expectations for this one. So this one's going to be a liked it for me. It didn't completely blow me away, but I thought it was a really interesting fantasy world and fantasy concept. But I've read so many fantasies that it's kind of hard for me to be like blown away by a fantasy. We Keep Meeting Like This by Rachel Lynn Solomon. This one is going to go and liked it as well. I thought this was like a fun sort of wedding contemporary, like a wedding YA contemporary, but it didn't really, once again, blow me away or anything. It wasn't anything that kind of sticks out in my mind. The Handmaid's Tale by Margaret Atwood, the graphic novel adaptation, this one's definitely going to go in absolute fave. I fell in love with this story. It just, honestly, that's what this is a book that blew me away, for a good example of that. Really loved that one. 13 Doorways, Wolves Behind Them All by Laura Ruby is another one that I ended up DNFing. I really wanted to like this one, but I found it way too confusing. And Pet, I had heard such amazing things about this book, but for me, I just found it to be okay. Like, I have forgettable / okay, because I feel like okay books, they're just kind of middle of the road, like average. They aren't bad books, but for me, they're not something that I'm going to remember because I read so many books, and this is definitely one that I don't think I will remember all that much, except it was a very unique story. It just wasn't exactly like my taste. I can see the importance of it, but I just didn't personally like click with the writing. My Imaginary Mary by the Lady Janies, I really liked this one. This is the latest by the Lady Janies. They have their Mary series, and My Imaginary Mary is focused on Ada Lovelace and Mary Shelley, and it's like a Frankenstein story, and I thought it was super well done. I had a blast reading that one. The Bones of Ruin by Sarah Rawley. I was so excited for this book, to be honest, but this one was just forgettable for me. I mean, it's kind of veering on good. Do I want to put it a good? No, I'm gonna keep it where it is for now, but knowing me, I might end up changing it later. I just felt like this one had a lot of potential, and it was another case where I was kind of more in love with the concept for it than the actual execution. And even like, it wasn't even what the concept ended up being that I was in love with. I thought it was going to be something completely different than what it was, so I was kind of let down. The Worst Best Man by Mia Sosa. This one, I liked it. Like, I thought it was a fun enemies to lovers sort of romance story. I liked the writing of it. I enjoyed the main character, and yeah, it was fun. Winterwood by Shay Earnshaw is definitely forgettable, and I say that because I really cannot remember what I thought about this book. Like, I think Shay Earnshaw's books, they're all quite similar. Like, they all deal with witches and stuff, and they all kind of bleed together for me, and I think that's exactly what is happening in this one. I remember even talking about this one in a recent reads video. Like, I couldn't really remember how I felt about it. Next is My Year of Rest and Relaxation by Otessa Moshfegh. In this one, I'm so hesitant to like, I'm gonna say really liked it, and I'm so hesitant to say that because it's such a bad main character, like, but I got really absorbed in this story. It was a very strange experience. I haven't really had an experience like that before, but I got like sucked into it, and it's very different than what I would normally read, but I did like it. Before the Coffee Gets Cold, I'm going to put this in Loved It because I really enjoyed this. Like, it's not a short story collection, but it is like little 3 or 4 intertwining tales, and they're all set in this cafe with time travel. It was very, once again, a different read than I've ever read before. The Midnight Library by Matt Haig, I'm going to put an absolute fave because this is a book that meant a lot to me. I've talked about it, like, I read it at the perfect time, and it's one that's gonna stick with me. The Enigma Game by Elizabeth Wine, I'm going to put in Liked It. I have really enjoyed a lot of Elizabeth Wine's books in the past, but because like my standards for her are so high, this one wasn't my favorite. I thought it was good. It was a solid story. I would recommend it. I think it's worth reading, but once again, not one that blew me away. I'm gonna have to think of like another way to say that. Ties That Tether by Jane Iharo. This one, I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a great story where you see the main character's like conflict, her cultural conflict, the conflict with her family. She's going through like a very hard time. It definitely felt like a more kind of high stakes adult romance than other ones that I've read in the past. One Last Stop by Casey McQuiston, you know by now, absolute fave. Just really loved this one. The Looking Glass Wars by Frank Bador. Finally read this one this year, and this one I did really like it. I am glad that I read it finally, even though it took me forever. I enjoyed it. The Hawthorne Legacy by Jennifer Lynn Barnes. This was actually a DNF. I was like reading it and I just didn't really care, so I decided to put it down. The 12 Dates of Christmas by Jenny Bayliss is either liked it or really liked it. I'm gonna go ahead and put it in liked it. I don't think it was quite a really liked it, but I would recommend it as like a Christmas story. It was a lot of fun. Now, The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue by V.E. Schwab, which once again I finally read. This one, I'm also very conflicted by, because the first half I was kind of bored, and then it ended up, like, I had a lot of ups and downs with this story. So I think that this one for me was a liked it. Liked it is just going to be the biggest category apparently at this point. Firekeeper's Daughter by Angeline Boulley. I would say that this one is a really liked it. It was unlike other mysteries I've read, and I loved the culture that was brought into it. Just a really solid story. I'm not giving you like too much information about all of these books just because I'm going to be talking about them in like other Bookmas videos. So, I mean, other ones that I've done, other ones that are coming. So you can see kind of like the breakdown of how I actually felt about a lot of these books in those videos. If I haven't talked about them yet, chances are I'm going to be talking about them in a future video. These Violent Delights, definitely really liked it. I had a great time with that story. Once again, one that I finally read, and it was really good. Here's apparently, I think that this one, it's either liked it or good. I think it's liked it though. Based on where kind of like the other books that are in the good category, I think that one belongs more in a liked it scenario, but it is kind of veering between the two. Written in the Stars by Alexandria Bellefleur, I quite enjoyed. I'm gonna put this one in liked it as well. It was a really enjoyable romance story, and it's kind of one that I'm almost putting it in really liked it, but just not quite. Act Your Age, Eve Brown by Talia Hibbert is going to go in really liked it. It's either that or I think I might put it in loved it. I'm actually gonna put it in loved it. I did like really enjoy this one. One of my favorites of the series. It focuses on the youngest sister, so that was something that I could relate to. I liked it. I have such a hard time describing my feelings for all of these books. Next is An Emotion of Great Delight by Tahara Mafi. This one's going to go in good. It was a fine story, but I just kind of like didn't feel all that much of a connection with it. It felt incomplete in a way. How to Fail at Flirting by Denise Williams. To be honest, this one's kind of a weird situation because I liked it, but I don't really remember it all that much. So I think because I did enjoy it overall, I don't have any issues with it. I am going to put it in liked it. I remember like liking it, obviously. I just can't remember specifics, which is so odd. For All Time by Shanna Miles. This was a DNF for me, tragically. I wish that I was able to finish that one, but I just couldn't. Alice by Heart by Stephen Sater. Like I said, this one, a lot of people have read and hated, but I actually enjoyed it. I wasn't blown away by any means, but I'm gonna put it in good. Like, these aren't books that I wouldn't recommend, once again, in the good category. It's just books that they weren't like, I don't know how to describe it. It just makes sense in my head. Iron Widow is going to go either in loved it or absolute fave. I'm not entirely sure. I think I'm gonna put it in absolute fave. I was like pretty blown away by this fantasy, and I can totally understand why it's so hyped up. Kingdom of the Cursed by Carrie Maniscalco. It really took a twist with the series, making it very, very steamy, and I did enjoy this one. So I didn't enjoy it like quite as much as the other one, so I'm going to go ahead and put this one in liked it as well. You've Reached Sam by Dustin Tao is going to go in loved it. You know, like this one was on my favorites list of the year. It was a very solid story. The Project by Courtney Summers is going to go in didn't like it. I just was not a fan. I was quite let down. Weather Girl by Rachel Lynn Solomon is another one where I liked it, didn't fall in love, but I enjoyed it. The Spanish Love Deception by Elena Armez is another one, didn't like it. Like, don't be offended if those are your favorite books. I know that I say that all the time, but like really don't be offended. It's fine. I just don't want anyone to feel bad about like enjoying a book or whatever. That one just wasn't for me. Royal Holiday by Jasmine Galori. This one I DNF'd. It wasn't what I was expecting, and I was not caring for the writing at all, which is very unfortunate. Sweet and Bitter Magic by Adrienne Tooley. This one is either liked it or really liked it. I had a great time with this fantasy, loved the relationship, and like there's this plague, and it was a really interesting kind of twist on that sort of storyline. The Cost of Knowing by Brittany Morris. I'm gonna put this one in really liked it. I'm so torn between like looking at these two categories. I'm like, are there ones that I want to move? But I need to leave it where it's at. But The Cost of Knowing, I thought was a great story about like brothers, and it was super sad, but really good. When You Get the Chance by Emma Lord. This one is liked it. Solid read. Nothing much else to say. House of Hollow by Crystal Sutherland is kind of torn between the two, but I'm gonna put it in really liked it because it was like a story that I think will stick with me. The Summer Job. This one is like A lot of people didn't enjoy this book. Once again, it's one that showed up in my worst rated whatever that I did last week. But I, on the other hand, I liked this one a lot. So I am going to put this one in really liked it. I was kind of torn between the two categories, but we're just gonna stick with my first instinct. Sister of the Bollywood Bride. Unfortunately, this one's gonna go in forgettable / okay. It wasn't a book that like I didn't like, but it definitely was just kind of like fine. The Holiday Switch, I actually ended up DNFing this one. It was just meh. Malibu Rising by Taylor Jenkins Reid. I enjoyed this one, but I kind of want to put it in good. I feel like I've read other books by Taylor Jenkins Reid that I have enjoyed more, and it's almost in the liked it category, but I kind of think that good is just a better place for it to be. Angel of Greenwood by Randy Pink. I'm either gonna put this one in really liked it or loved it. I'm gonna put it in really liked it. I think it could have been a little bit longer, but I so appreciated what the story did. Like, it was fantastic with what it was trying to do. The Layover by Lacey Walden. I'm gonna put this one in loved it. I had such a great time with this story. Enemies to Lovers isn't generally my favorite, but I thought that one was very well done. Isn't It Romantic? I'm going to put in really liked it. I like coming off of the last book in the Bromance Book Club series, I didn't enjoy as much, but Isn't It Romantic was a nice return to something that I really enjoyed. Ace of Spades, this one's going to go in absolute faves. Like, you guys know by now, I was so shook by that book and loved it. And speaking of loved it, Zyla and Kai by Christina Forrest. That one is definitely one that I loved. Like, its depiction of first love was very good. The Summer of Lost Letters. I'm gonna put this one either in good or forgettable / okay. I think I'm gonna put it in forgettable / okay, because it's kind of a story that I felt like could have done a lot of things better than what it actually ended up doing. So kind of another case of the potential being there, but it didn't quite reach it. 8 Perfect Hours. This one I so wanted to love, but it wasn't what I was expecting. So this is kind of another one where it's forgettable / okay. I don't think there's anything wrong with the book per se. Like, it's almost in the good category, but it just kind of was a little bit of a letdown for me. And 6 Crimson Cranes by Elizabeth Lim. I think this one's forgettable / okay as well. I was kind of torn between that and didn't like it, to be honest, but I'm gonna keep it in forgettable / okay because there's nothing like wrong per se with the story. It just kind of was fine. Kiss and Tell by Adib Khorram. I'm going to put this one in good. It was like a solid story about a main character who is in a boy band and he actually comes out as gay, so it's like being gay in the public eye. It's just, I don't know. It's so hard to describe the books that like don't blow me away because there's no one reason for it. So how am I supposed to describe it? You know, I don't know. Songs in Ursa Major by Emma Brody. This one I'm gonna put in good as well. I think that this would be like a solid story if you are interested in kind of the concept of Daisy Jones and the Six, but didn't really care for the style that it's written in, since it is kind of unique. I think that Songs in Ursa Major could be a really great one. It's just, I enjoyed Daisy Jones a lot more. I feel like maybe this one could go in liked it, to be entirely honest. I'm gonna go ahead and put this one in liked it, actually. Sorry, last minute change. I'm still out, actually also torn about moving it again. We're just gonna stick with it. Hotel Magnifique by Emily J. Taylor. This one's definitely a good for me. It didn't like live up to what I wanted it to be, essentially. I've read a lot of books like that and maybe that was the problem. Wrapped in You by Talia Hibbert. This was good. Like, it was a fine little quick Christmas story. You Can Go Your Own Way. This one is also going to go in good. I have so many books and like they're all in a row where I put them in the one category. I don't know why, but You Can Go Your Own Way I thought was a fine little like kind of Christmassy, I mean, it's not Christmassy, but a little wintry read. Once Upon a Broken Heart. I'm gonna put this one in forgettable / okay. Almost didn't like it, but I think because I love the concept for it so much, that's what's keeping me from putting it and didn't like it, but I'm gonna stick with that decision. The Matzo Ball by Jean Meltzer, I definitely liked it. I thought it was a really good story that features like a Jewish main character. It talks about Hanukkah a lot. It's a great read for around this time of year. The Love Hypothesis by Ali Hazelwood. This one I'm gonna go ahead and put in liked it. I think it's kind of another case of it being a little bit overhyped for me. I Must Betray You by Ruth Petties. Loved this one. it's just, she's a great like historical fiction author. Vespertine, I'm gonna put in liked it. Kind of another one where I read it and then I feel like I like immediately forgot what it was about, which is really strange, but oh well. Lore Olympus, I'm gonna put in didn't like it. I unfortunately really didn't care for this one all that much. I thought I was going to enjoy it more, but yeah, just wasn't for me. Blame It on the Mistletoe by Beth Garrett is a DNF for me. I did not like this Christmas book like at all. The Romantic Agenda by Claire Kahn. This one I'm going to put in liked it. I've really enjoyed the Claire Kahn books that I've read so far, and this one was interesting because it's the author's first adult romance, and it's also a story where there was like a kind of love triangle, love square sort of thing. So it was different than other books that I've read. Cytonic by Brandon Sanderson, I'm going to put in good. I think it would be liked it, but I'm just, because I enjoyed the other books in the series so much, I can't help but be like a little bit let down by this one. One True Loves, I really enjoyed this one actually. I'm going to put it in really liked it, but it's kind of almost in loved it. I thought it was a great story for like around that age range where you're deciding what you want to do with the rest of your life, kind of struggling with that decision. It was a really good depiction of a character in that situation. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and get like these next few. I know exactly where they're going. Daughter of the Moon Goddess, loved it. Or absolute fave? No, loved it. I don't know if it's because I flew through this one, but I can't remember exactly what happened so well. I don't know why, but I do remember loving it. It's just like the specifics get a little fuzzy for me. Lessons in Chemistry by Bonnie Garmis for sure is an absolute fave. I just adored this book. Nick and Noelle's Christmas Playlist by Cody Hall. I kind of want to put it in loved it, to be honest, because I did have such a good time with the friends to lovers aspect. It was a really great holiday read for me, but I'm gonna put it in really liked it. I don't know why, it's just where I'm gonna put it. One Italian Summer by Rebecca Searle. This one is going to go in loved it. I think this was like almost a favorite of the year for me, but because I kind of struggled with some of the aspects of the magic, if you will, of it, it didn't quite make it. Four Aunties in a Wedding, I'm gonna put in forgettable and okay, like, which is tragic, but we don't need to say anything else. Acts of Service, I think is once again forgettable / okay, but it's almost in didn't like it. I'm gonna put in didn't like it actually. I just changed my mind. Book Lovers by Emily Henry, that's a loved it. Like, wasn't my absolute fave by her, but I did love it. Tokyo Dreaming by Amiko Jean. This one was either forgettable / okay or didn't like it. I'm gonna go ahead and put it also in forgettable / okay. Two sequels, man, that just let me down. Summer of Bitter and Sweet. This one, I did quite enjoy it. I liked how it like showed a character that was dealing with a lot and was very honest about that. Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow by Gabrielle Zevin. I kind of want to put in really liked it, but I don't think I enjoyed it quite as much as everyone else did. My expectations were a little bit high for that one, so I think liked it is kind of where it's going to end up. Set on You, that was a didn't like it, which is unfortunate because I was really excited for it. Every Summer After, that's an absolute fave. Just my #1 book of the year. Great read. The Dead Romantics by Ashley Poston is going to go in loved it. Kind of torn between loved it and really liked it, to be honest, but I did actually really love it the more that I think about it. Window Shopping, this one is a didn't like it. Was not a fan of that one at all. I remember reading it like this time last year and did not like it at all. Nora Goes Off Script, this one's going to be a liked it. I could have loved this one, but the writing kind of was a little bit weird. The writing took me a while to get used to, and there were kind of like the conflict I didn't fully understand. How to Fake It in Hollywood. Yeah, is this a loved it or a really liked it? I think it's a really liked it. It dealt with more than I was expecting, but did it all so well. The Beach Trap, this one I'm going to also put in really liked it. Those two are like kind of on the same level, in my opinion. This Time Tomorrow by Emma Straub, this one is going to be a good. I think this is a story that had so much potential, but it kind of felt unfinished once again, which was very strange. Verity by Colleen Hoover, actually loved it. Really surprised by that one, but I actually did. I was like super blown away. It's not normally what I would read, and it was wild. Something Wilder by Christina Lorne. I actually meant to include this on my disappointments in like worst books of the year video. This one's forgettable / okay for me. I love Christina Lauren. This one was just not it in my opinion. The Lost Ticket, you know, absolute fave. Oh, A Sweet Little Cinnamon Roll book, such a big fan. And finally, The Cheat Sheet. This one was good. Like, I've read other Friends to Lovers books that I liked more. So that is my tier ranking. I feel like it's actually like pretty even. I feel like I had a really good reading year. I quite enjoyed like most of the books that I read, and you can see that definitely in the way that the list is laid out. Like, liked it is so big, and good is also, those are books that I liked. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I feel like I've said like 12 million times in this video, and I really apologize, but I hope you enjoyed today's video anyways. So thank you so much for watching today's video. Tomorrow for Bookmas Day 16, I'm going to be talking about books that I finally read this year, because as I had mentioned, there are quite a few books that I have put off for years, and I finally ended up reading them this year, which is exciting. So I'll be talking about like if they were worth the wait, all of that stuff. So I will see you for that video tomorrow. Bye!